The world is facing a massive turmoil all around it, and people aren't really happy with things like wars that don't need to be happening.
Bye, Russell. Keep that energy, watch what happened, bro.
Inflation that turned a Little Caesars pizza from $5 to $10. It don't even be tasting good enough for this price. Little Caesars, y'all know you're wrong for this. People barely being able to afford to live. But all things considered, we're probably at the best moment in humanity compared to other times. Which is why we're gonna be looking at the
worst times to be alive.
Starting off with none other than caveman times. The name of it in general gives it away. Caveman times. Them had to live in caves to survive the nights for slumber. Like, we consider the least you can have in life is shelter. Their shelter was a damp cave with all types of insects and bats flying around. You could barely around and risk sleeping because a 20-foot spider might bite your nuts off while you sleep. And could you imagine how sleeping in the winter would have been like? I know that rock bed felt like ice cubes. The typical day for a caveman is waking up and hoping you weren't eaten by either a saber-toothed tiger, a woolly mammoth, or Elon Musk. Then you had to go out and actually hunt for your food. And unless you're the liver king and hunting bulls then throwing a testes in your breakfast cereal, you probably don't do this. And the worst part too is that their weapons weren't even that good. Like, what did they have? Spears, bows and arrows, hammers? Do we use that shit in Minecraft now to survive? A spear or bow was probably cool to get a little bird or fox, but what the is it gonna do against the gigantic okay, I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name, but this big ass ape, an extinct species of ape that were I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name, but this big ass ape, an of another extinct species of ape, okay, a little bird or fox, but what the is it gonna do against the gigantic
a Gigantopithecus blackie. Hold on, bro. I want to look this shit up, actually. How do you spell that shit, bro? Hold on. Gigantopithecus blackie. Hold on. How do you say? No, I want to hear how to.
Gigantopithecus.
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 Yo, I'm hangry. Yo, get something to fucking eat.
Gigantopithecus.
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 Yo, next fat bitch I see, I'm gonna call her Gigantopithecus. Word. Like, bitch, you look like a Gigantopithecus. Nah, that shit don't sound like it. That shit don't hit, bro.
Okay, I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name, but this big ass ape, an extinct species of ape that were 10 feet tall and weighed over 1,000 pounds. This must be the primate Shaq comes from, because ain't no way, dog. You're gonna need about 1,000 arrows to take one of these down. Imagine these lived in modern times with us. The NBA would be paying top dollar to get one of them on their team. But nowadays, we could see one of these creatures and be like, damn, that's crazy. And boom, the species would be gone. You also gotta factor in weather too, because unlike today's tools where we can predict when anything is gonna happen, before they had to take a gamble if their village was gonna be up or taken by a tsunami in the middle of the night. I would turn into a villain if I woke up and the whole village was swept away except for me. And people talk about lifespan being low before modern medicine in the past, but imagine in caveman times. They'd be lucky if they celebrated their 18th birthday. Doing my inquisiting research with asking a question on Google, the average caveman lived to 20 to 25 years old, man. He was already considered unk at 12 years old. A caveman could just catch the common cold and everyone in the village already knew it was GG's. If my caveman homie caught the cold and gave it to me, I'm gonna have to spear his ass first before the cold takes him. Plus, since there was no hygiene like a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, they were dying to basic things we prevent nowadays like tooth infections and ass aids. Well, I don't know about ass aids, but a leaf to wipe your ass had to have not been healthy. But the main reason I couldn't live back then, quite frankly, is because everyone was ugly as Like, how am I supposed to be on my Kai Cenat, Duke Dennis, looks maxing, edge mewing, joking type of timing when I look like this? I just keep bashing my face against the wall and hope my proportions smooth out better like handsome Squidward. The next time we got is the medieval times. Now, there's a obvious reason I wouldn't survive because, well, let's just say I wouldn't be allowed in the town with the regular folks. But it's not like I'd want to because was not fun. Like, I know I already talked about hygiene with the caveman, but holy at least they died early. There were actual old people in the medieval times. Back then, they used to actually think it was healthier to not shower. Scientists were not the brightest creatures. They thought diseases were caused by smells, and if you took a shower, it opened up the pores for the disease to enter your body, which has got to be the dumbest conclusion ever, but hey, that's what you get on a diet of stale bread and moldy cheese. I also like me a nice toilet with the sea-ass temp set at 68 degrees Fahrenheit to set forth the environment for my bowels to erupt. But do you know what a medieval toilet looked like? It was a hole in the ground. And after people finished doing their business, they would just throw their outside. Imagine walking to school or work in the morning and you get hit by 5 pounds of diarrhea from above. And in medieval times, you better hope you don't get caught with doing a heinous act like being a traitor, being black, because their torture methods were out of pocket.
Yes, don't run. He like you, he talk too much like you. Yeah, Ella.
For no reason. If you're tapped into the historical side of YouTube, you've already seen how wild they could get. And the names give them away of the torture devices. Like, what type of joist object would be called the breast ripper? The worst one to me is the rack, where they tied you to a mechanical device that rotates and slowly stretched out your body until every bone broke and you ripped in half. If they bring this back as a torture method, never in my life am I even attempting to do the pettiest crime. I'm gonna be the most stellar citizen the government has ever seen. I'll always make sure to cross the street on a crosswalk, and I'll always make sure to go exactly the speed limit, not risking And it's not like they even did it for only extreme criminals. If you simply had a different religious belief, they was finna call you a witch and put you on it pronto. Honestly, I don't even know why you would even tell them you have a different religious belief. Like, you just gotta be stupid. Also, people think politicians and world leaders are corrupt now, but could you imagine back then? You could probably give a king the wrong look, and if he's already mad that day, he'll just send you to be executed. And if I was a king, honestly, I'd probably do that too. Like, if I see some dude in the kingdom that looks handsome and might be a threat to my pulling abilities, I'm gonna have him executed. Game is game. And it's not like anyone was going against the king. If they tried, they would barely have a chance. You would try killing a king, a knight would stop you, then put you through the most excruciating torture to ever exist.
Take him to Detroit. No!
We also thought quarantine was bad and staying a year and a half or 2 years inside was excruciating. But in medieval times, they had the black
nigga
in a year and a half.
Face, Jeff, dude. Nah. Yo, he
wild, 2 years inside was excruciating. But in medieval times, they had the Black Plague, and yeah, we really shouldn't be complaining. You were waking up every day and
I tell you this every time, bro. I don't have an ad blocker, bro. I have a script on my PC. For Twitch, I have a script, bro. Bro, I can send you the thing to use after. How I get that? It's an extension you can put on your PC. I'm gonna show you how to get it after. Big ol' 92 MLBOA. Yeah. Yo, what's going on, Tup? Cool beans.
Bodies were dropping left and right like no tomorrow. One day it was your homie's grandmother gone. The next day it was your grandmother gone. This plague took out 50% of the population. Imagine right now we went from 8 billion to 4 billion. Honestly, I wouldn't mind some of y'all freaks being taken out, but 4 billion was a little too much for me, you know? And their plague was 7 years. Also, the doctors were not helping back then because why did they choose this as their outfit? They look creepy as f. No way in hell I'm letting these dudes get near to help me with my medical predicaments. They couldn't have chose a scarier costume to go with. What were they thinking? Imagine being an innocent child and having the Black Plague, then this thing comes to aid and consult you. I'ma just say my prayers to my Lord and Savior, then drop dead. The next times we got is segregation times. And if you're not of a melanated skin tone, well, congratulations. You get a one-time pass for this portion of the video to relive it. Let me give a shout out real quick to the GOATs. MLK, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X. Because without them, you wouldn't be
what look like. Yo, word two, I've never seen like a picture.
MLK,
I don't remember seeing a picture of Rosa Parks. Yo, nah, she look crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Rosa look crazy, bro.
Marx, Malcolm X, because without them, you wouldn't be watching this video of me. Either that or there would be a black-only YouTube and white-only YouTube, so I don't know, maybe you would be watching it. I would have been pissed off living back then because the hassle you had to get anything while segregated was absurd. Like, we already know everything was separated by black and white places only, but then imagine how many actual black businesses you could go to. The hassle you had to go through alone to be able to open a business was almost impossible. As soon as they saw the race listing on the business application, you know they did not give a fuck. If you had to get a life-threatening surgery, you might as well just end it there because there were about 50 people in line in front of you. And even if you did manage to get something luxurious like a car back then, you was getting pulled over every time you drive. You probably couldn't even use the car at nighttime anyways because sundown towns, which for y'all that don't know are towns that ban non-white people from coming in after sundown. Imagine you don't know and randomly drive into the town a minute after sundown and catch a beating. I'd be pissed. And a beating is probably the lightest punishment they'd consider. I'd also be mad too because I wouldn't be able to talk to one of my white homies half the time. You couldn't hang out at the same school, hotels, bars, restaurants, parks, basically anywhere that was fun. The only place we would be able to talk is probably a damn grass field in the middle of Iceland. And if your love happened to be of another race as well, they definitely not gonna let that pass. You finna get banished from the family. Why do you think you've never seen an old light-skinned person? Really question yourself. Have you ever seen an old light-skinned person? They wasn't breeding them until like 50 years ago. It wasn't allowed. Thank the heavens they allowed it, or else we would have never gotten my pookie wookie trakey snaky. You could be walking down the street normally doing your own thing, and randomly someone is calling you the hard R like it's Call of Duty. And unlike Call of Duty where you can talk back, you couldn't risk doing it because you know the cops are not taking your side. You getting a life sentence.
Call of Duty game chat used to be fucking crazy, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I was a part of them niggas telling niggas they KYS and shit on the mic when I was younger playing Black Ops 2 and shit, MW2. Yo, the mics back then used to be fucking crazy, bro. I remember the Connect mics and shit. Every time you stream, that's the first thing I'ma say. Yeah, I'm praying it, bro. E-Day is crazy. Yo, find somebody doing the E-Day, bro. Yo, tell him put me on. I need word. Say now.
You even think of speaking back. Crazy thing is, some people act like this was like 500 years ago or something. The Civil Rights Act got passed 60 years ago. Some people alive were in their 20s, 30s, and 40s when it got passed. And of course, the last time we got is World War II because, no. Now, World War II was one of those times where every group had it bad. First, you had to get drafted to a war you didn't want to fight. Like, I don't got no problems with anyone. Why the f am I fighting? These presidents gotta start fighting in a boxing ring or something because I'm not fighting with some problems you got. And patriotism went extra crazy before because kids were dead ass lying to get drafted and fight for the country. I'm doing the exact opposite of this happened. Whatever means it takes to not be drafted, I'm doing it. If I gotta lie about my age and act 12 years old, I'm doing it. If I gotta go up in a political position to be safe, I'm doing it. If I gotta
mean times, what's it called, medieval times,
act like I'm sped for years, I'm doing it. And it's even worse for other wars like the Vietnam War because they would announce the draft picks on live TV and whatever birthday it was, you were getting drafted. They treat it like it's the NFL or NBA draft. Imagine watching this live and them going, okay, and the draft we have for the Vietnam War of 1972 is going to be, okay, I'm March 3rd. Please don't be me. Please don't be me. Please don't be me. March 4th. Oh. Guess I'm good after all. There's been a mistake in the announcement, but we meant March 3rd. Fuck! Patriotism really worked back then because all they knew was what the TV played and what the government said. Being on a warfield for months and not knowing when you're gonna either get sniped, hit by a 5-foot tank shell, captured by the enemy, and being tortured for weeks wasn't really the best living times for people. And if you were Japanese, well, I mean, you know how that's Japan was ruthless though, not gonna lie, but could you imagine you're drafted into the Japanese military and the job they assign you is as a kamikaze? There was no age limit to this job either. They gave this job to teenagers. Your fate is already destined that you're dying. What do you even do at that point? A nigga like me would have to dip in the middle of the mission and just let the plane crash in the ocean. I feel like it would be way easier nowadays to get people to do it though. You could recruit by looking for some emo kids or a sad edit TikTok comment section, you know, people people that wouldn't mind losing their life anyways. And if you were Jewish, well, I
Niggas
mean,
that wouldn't mind losing a life anyways. Is
you also know how that
wicked,
story
yo.
goes. And after being forcibly
hate
drafted to
all
the
you.
war, you'd come
Now I
back
gotta
home
start
and still
saying
be
Iman
broke.
pussy.
With all that PTSD
Word,
you
that's
got,
what
it
you
was
need to
probably
start
hard to work
saying,
any
word,
job.
okay.
You couldn't work in a restaurant because you get PTSD from oil popping from the fryer. You couldn't work a
The fuck
factory.
do they got on this grill right here? Is that mice? Bro, this gotta be New York, bro. How do I tell you?
Work in a restaurant because you get PTSD from oil popping from the fryer. You couldn't work a factory job because you get PTSD
Who's
from all the
gay?
loud machines. You couldn't
Bro,
work as a
stop. Yo,
porn
bro.
star because
Yeah,
you
Ella?
get PTSD from all the clapping. And even if you do get paid, it's barely enough
Who's
to
an
scrap
Optimus
by.
Prime?
There's no
Ella
reason we
is.
should have
She over there
homeless
talking
veterans.
about
So
Elon
yeah,
Dick
guys,
and shit.
even though the world isn't perfect and things seem like they're always getting worse, at least you didn't have to be a kamikaze pilot in World War II. I think that's the lesson here. Follow me on Twitter.
This was not his best vid though. I'm not gonna lie.